Hey, this is John Lee Dumas, the founder and host of Entrepreneurs on Fire. And if you're wanting to learn how to embrace change and navigate through disruption as a leader, then listen to the Leadership is Changing podcast with my good friend, Denis Gianoutsos. He's prepared to ignite.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos.
Denis, I was, the terms we use, I was a military brat when I was young. So I grew up in a military family. I ended up in the military. I was an M1 tank commander in the Army and really when I left the military and started in my corporate career, which obviously led to a lot of what I'm doing today. I ended up in the rental industry for about 16 years, overseeing sales and operations. So dealt with a lot of that in large organizations in the rental industry. The company Melissa and I run today, Rollins Performance Group, is now in our 10th year of business somehow. I don't know how that happened, but so we've been doing this for going on 10 years where we work with people just to develop their communication skills and sales and leadership.
Yeah, great. And I know Melissa as well, wonderful couple listeners who always give so much to people, which is brilliant to know and experience as well. So Chris, this is all about leadership is changing and so forth. So how did you get into leadership?
I love this question, Denis. And it's funny, how'd you get into leadership? Here's why I love this question. I think as simple as it is, it's so often misunderstood. I would have answered this question so differently 30 years ago, right? Because here you were in the military, became a tank commander, you're running and gunning, getting results, getting things done, leading. But as you and I both know, at that time, a lot of it was really positional leadership, what I thought was leadership. Probably when I look back at it though now, I can't say, oh, I got into leadership as a young soldier in the Army and leading groups of people. I really didn't get into leadership until probably 15 years, maybe 15, 16 years ago, when someone handed me a copy of the book, Good to Great, which literally was the book that changed my thinking. And I thought, oh, wow, I've been doing this wrong. I've been achieving great results, but that's not leadership until I can help my teams begin to achieve great results. So what I thought was 30 years ago when I got into leadership really was a journey for me that began probably 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah, and I think that's the key word that you just used there, right? Which is it's a journey. And for listeners, it's not about you taking a red pill, a blue pill, and you're the leader anymore. Right? Chris and I know that it is a journey, right? And you are going to learn things and you're going to evolve over time and bring different things as well and different scenarios, different situations. But you're right. It's about an awareness of actually understanding what you bring to the table and then how do you take that and move forward. So really interesting to see. And I love the book, Good to Great. It's a great book, right?
Absolutely. A classic, no doubt.
A classic. And listeners, if you haven't read it already, we would highly recommend that you go and read Jim Collins's book, Good to Great. It's a wonderful book. And notice what Chris said. It helped him change his thinking. And be aware, listeners, as you go to read that book, it will change your thinking, but it's a wonderful one to check out for sure. Now, Chris, you may have several here. I'm going to ask you to think about what's your one leader. Now, this person could be alive or from history. Who's your favorite leader and why?
I know, Dennis, we could probably rattle off some greats that we really think about. But funny enough, when I really think in my personal life of those that impacted me the most, and I know you say, who's your favorite? I would do a disservice if I didn't say the two people that really impacted me personally and professionally the most. The first really was my first sergeant when I was in the military, because in fact, I found him just a few years ago, right back before the day and age of social media, when I was in the 80s and the 90s. And we connected and hadn't spoken in years. And I told him, I said, I owe you so many things today that when I was a young guy and you'd ride my case, I probably was mad at you half the time for, and I did not know what you were helping me do. But he refused to allow me to perform at less than my potential was, even if it was better than other people's around me, right? He said, you're better than this, and I'm going to push you. I didn't appreciate it then. I'm so appreciative of it now. In my corporate career, when I transitioned, probably the greatest mentor I had was a VP of mine, and we still talk occasionally today. who really helped me shift, again, that shift in that mindset, as I talked about, from understanding, hey, Chris, this is not about you. In fact, one day he actually said to me, Dennis, hey, Chris, this is not the Army. Your employees do not have to come back to work tomorrow morning. And I thought, what? I was mad when he said it. And then I said, oh my goodness, what a light bulb moment when I had to learn that, they don't have to do this. They choose to follow us. And only when they choose to follow us can we truly be leaders. Without their influence, there's no way I would be where I am.
Yeah. And that choice is really amazing. But you've mentioned a few times that word about mindset. And in my introduction of you to our listeners, we talk about the inbox ideas and concepts to achieving the out-of-the-box results. And I think a lot of the inbox is around the mindset. Would that be right?
Oh, totally. It's the foundation. When I often talk to people about their map to achieving sustainable results, the M in my map is the mindset. If the mindset is not right, you've lost before you've taken the first step of the journey.
Yeah, awesome. Now let's talk about mindset, and it's something about you personally, because I really admire what Chris has just done recently, listeners. He has gone and lost weight, and he has gone and actually becoming this, what I call a corporate athlete, whereby he's done things, but a lot of that probably would have been around the mindset as well, Chris. Do you mind sharing? I've just already said to the listeners what's happened here, but I think it's just a really important thing for us, because I think a lot of leaders need to be in a position whereby they are fit, they're in a really good shape. Because I don't know many high-performing leaders who aren't, right?
Dennis, I was fit all my life. Again, from the military time, always been an exercise guy, everything else. Unfortunately, just over a period of time, Dennis, we don't wake up, flip the switch, and decide to do this. It creeps up on us, right?
Yes.
And I was so busy running our business, taking care of my parents, who we were taking care of for a while. They're gone now, but we were doing all that. And, funny enough, Melissa had shared some pictures with me one day. She said, oh, I took these pictures while you were up I was doing a training. She said, I thought you'd see these pictures I snapped of you while you were up there today. And I went, no, we're not putting that guy up on the website. I said, what the heck happened? It happened so slowly, you didn't even realize it happened. So yes, I made a decision that said, how am I going to encourage and challenge people to be high performers when I look at myself and say, am I being authentic and true to what I'm challenging them to do? And that was 70 pounds ago, right? This year I've dropped 70 pounds and I'm back to my ideal weight, back to what I was years ago. I'm back doing my insanity workouts and all those crazy things, but I feel better. I have more energy. And truly, I believe it helps me show up and serve my clients at a higher level as well. And I'm about to be a grandfather. Let me say this, Dennis. Melissa and I are about to be grandparents. I know we can actually officially announce that now here soon. So our son and his wife are pregnant with our first grandbaby, and it's going to allow us to be present as they grow up as well.
Oh man, that is so special. Fantastic. Congratulations. So what was it like facing the haka? And for our listeners who don't understand that, the haka is more of a challenge for people, and they tend to do that in front of their opposition. So, Filipo, what was it like to face the New Zealand All Blacks?
It is scary. You're facing one of the best teams in the world, a team that has a 90% winning ratio, probably one of the top 2 or 3 teams globally. And facing them with a team of mainly players from the Pacific Islands, from Samoa itself, was really challenging, because many of our professional players who couldn't face them. So I had to be really vulnerable and to actually accept the challenge to face the best in the world. So when you're facing, it's like your worst nightmare, but they're right in front of you. So it is scary, it's fearful, but you have to be vulnerable, but you have to lead at the same time.
Yeah, and of course, respecting it as well. And I know that from a Mana Samoa team, you also did one back as well, didn't you, as a haka? I don't know what sure what you called it, but did you do one also back to them?
Yeah, we did. It's part of, I guess it's being Polynesian, as Māori and Polynesian too. We have a haka itself, it's called the sibatau. So the sibatau is very similar, but it's in Samoan language with different actions. So out of respect, we face them by challenging with our own haka called the sibatau.
Yeah, cool. Hey, listeners, I've already seen the cover of the new book that Filipo has created. It's called Tackle Your Success. Filipo, congratulations on doing this book. I'm really excited for you to see it coming out and taking your experiences and your knowledge and your insights and putting it into a book. Tell us a little bit about the book. What's it about?
The whole premise is to help athletes after sports, helping them with a new life after sports. So it's giving athletes tools to understand what happens next. as a former athlete for 13 years of professional rugby, I found it really challenging mentally going from a sport that I love and I'm passionate about. And I got paid really good money and I was really very grateful and to be in that position, very privileged at the same time, but also working hard to be there. So when you stop all of a sudden in your early 30s, that's it. You've actually retired. You're not 65 or 70. You have another 30, 40 years of work to do. So the book is pretty much the steps, and I use TACKLE as an acronym to take them through my stories, but also through a lot of some questions in terms of how to go from here to there. So it's more of a how-to book, but with a lot of stories intermixed into the chapters.
Yeah, tremendous. Oh, it's going to be very exciting to see that come through. Now, when you talked about that transition, I'm sure it's also the same for a lot of people who have been, as an example, some of our listeners may have been in the corporate world and now all of a sudden they want to go and start their business. There's all sorts of different scenarios. But I think, is it more about them as professional athletes reinventing themselves into another sort of career, into another thing that they might want to go and step into? Is that how that you would say it?
It is. You have to reinvent yourself. You need to leave one life and then move into the next. And you almost say it's almost your mourning. Yes, it is. You are mourning a life that you have to leave behind. And many people get stuck in a thinking of the past where they have to move forward. So if they move forward, then they're always going to be that person that played rugby, that person that played basketball, that person that played football, that person that played golf. And you have to move ahead. But also that doesn't mean that you stay, that doesn't mean that you leave sport altogether. Quite a few players do actually go coach, let's say, rugby. So we've got a few former players who will stay in the same industry and it's aligned to whatever their goals have had, to their values, and they've just moved on. So yeah, it is mourning one career, but then moving ahead with a plan.
Yeah, it's interesting because at the opening of the show, I mentioned that many leaders are not changing quick enough. And I think it's leaders, organizations are not changing quick enough, which means they run the risk of becoming irrelevant and being left behind. And I think this is just a prime example of what you're sharing there with individuals from a professional athlete perspective. And I think it's massive. I think it's huge what you're doing there. Awesome. Filipo, how did you get into leadership?
I guess I'd say it was a natural progression. I've always been told to speak in front of people when I didn't want to speak. So it was almost, okay, you're speaking. When do I speak? You're speaking tomorrow in front of who? I guess it started from home, from being speaking in front of, say, church and Samoan culture. We were, I'm not sure if it's forced, but you have to listen to mum. Because if you don't listen to mum, then you just you got to respect your mum, your parents. She tells you what to do, then you jump and you say, how high? So I guess it's progressed from there into sports and then going into club rugby. After high school, being asked to speak. Man, look, I was nervous first time I spoke around 2021 in front of corporates. I was like, oh my goodness me. I had little arms and I don't know. So it didn't have much structure. But I guess through leadership, more leadership for me was through the actions, what I did on the sports field. So a lot of my actions were in terms of sports. I always wanted to be the best tackler, the best defender in the team. I wanted to protect my teammates from the opposition. So I've always had that sort of a protector sort of mentality to be the one to be there for people, to help them and make sure that they're okay.
Yeah, that's very good. And I can see that you, knowing you as well and watching you, you're very much that servant wanting to help people around servant leadership and helping them be the best that they can be too. And when you were actually playing the professional sports and doing so, what was one or two things you would do? Because you talked about before about it's our morning, right? That's what we do. And that, what was one or two things that would set you up for success in your day as a professional athlete or in a game? What was one or two things that would set you up for success?
Probably the biggest thing is the mental preparation. So we talk about a lot of the mental preparation for sports athletes. It starts with the individual. So making sure when we come to the Monday after a game, we're able to look at the game and get feedback, make sure you get feedback straight away. In sports, it's quite brutal. You can get really brutal feedback. And I know a friend of mine, Filipo, mentioned the former All Black scrum coach, Mike Cron. So there was three sort of versions of feedback for rugby players. The first one was the 5-star feedback. For the 5-star feedback is when you see a player, you film them, and you show them straight away what they did and show them how they can improve straight away. It's 5-star. So you're showing them in the video, they look at it and they understand what's happening and you move on. A 3-star is you wait after training and you show them. They're probably, okay, yeah, they've probably forgotten a wee bit. Okay, so you move on. A 1-star feedback is when you wait a week. By then, the player or the person's totally forgotten what happened on the training day and said, okay, yeah, whatever. So you lost that sort of engagement. You lost that opportunity to engage and to get them to grow at 1%. So Mondays are feedback situations and it carries on during the week. So you're preparing mentally, but you're also getting that feedback so then you can go into the game ready to play.
Yep, cool. So you're setting the week up for that one game to play. When I say that one game, the game to play. So you're setting the week up, you're getting feedback, you're doing things, trying things, practicing things, redoing it, more feedback and so forth in the moment. And then you're preparing to go live on game day.
Exactly.
Yeah, very much. Now, your name, Filipo, how did you get to the name Filipo? How did your parents get to their name?
It's my grandfather's name. So it's my mum's dad, his name.
Yeah.
And I guess Filipo is a transliteration of the English word Philip. So I guess when you look back into the history of the Pacific Islands, when the missionaries came from Scotland and around England, they came to the Pacific Islands around the early 1800s. They actually took our language and they translated it into English, and also, and they put a language onto Samoan language, put into Bible. And then, from the Bible, there were names like Philip, the disciples. So I guess it comes from the Bible, but it comes from the translation from the missionaries. So if you look at the Italians, there's a Filipo there's a Filippi, there's a lot of similarities, but the Filipo just means Philip.
Yeah. Oh, very good. And because I think in French, I think it's Philippe.
Philippe, yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.